What's up guys, it's Mike. Today I'm going to show you guys to install front and rear shifter bushings from Cobb Tuning. So let's get started. To get started, you'll need a few tools. You need a ratchet, flathead, Phillips head, crescent wrench, 12mm wrench, 12mm, 13 and 14mm sockets, and pliers, along with jack stands or a lift if you have one. Once you've lifted the car and gotten under it, you'll need to remove the heat shield. The heat shield is held up by 4 12mm bolts. Use your 12mm wrench and remove those. One on the driver's side catalytic converter, one on the passenger side catalytic converter, right next to the O2 sensor. One on the passenger side, just follow the exhaust all the way back and you'll see where the heat shield ends. And then the last one's on the opposite side on the driver's side rear, and you'll remove that last one also. Now back up towards the front of the car, towards the catalytic converter, you'll see on the O2 sensors on one side, on the opposite side will be the oxygen sensor plug. That's where you're going to want to remove. So just simply unplug this and you'll be able to access the oxygen sensor a lot easier. Now take your crescent wrench and remove this O2 sensor. It takes a little torque to get it going, but once it goes, it's actually pretty easy to remove. Remove it and set it aside for later use. Since the O2 sensor is now out of the way, you can remove the heat shield. Just wiggle it out and then pull it out of its place. Once the heat shield's out of the way, you'll see the shifter link right above the catalytic converter and the exhaust right next to the transmission. Now on to the front shifter bushing. Here you'll see the shifter link attached to the transmission. You'll want to remove this 12mm bolt to remove this front bushing. I use a 12mm wrench to remove this bolt. Once you remove the bolt, you'll be able to remove the washer. Make sure you keep these components for later use. And now on to removing the stock rubber bushing. On the right side is the stock rubber bushing. This is how it looks once it's removed. To give you a better idea on how to remove the stock rubber bushing, this is an example of how it'll look. The brown portion represents the linkage, and the rubber bushing is inside the linkage. Since the rubber bushing is one solid piece, your goal is to force the rubber bushing out from one side. You can either use pliers or a flathead screwdriver. Take your flathead screwdriver and force it between the rubber bushing and the metal linkage. Now remember, in the cramped space below the vehicle, it's going to be somewhat harder to do this, but take your time and make sure you use some muscle when trying to remove the rubber bushing. Just continuously move the flathead screwdriver around the rubber bushing until you're able to remove it out. Once you're able to remove that out, the rubber bushing should come right out from one side. Now remember, the front stock rubber bushing is one solid piece. Pull that bushing completely out and you can discard it or set it aside. If you're also installing the rear shifter bushings, you can proceed to this step. Go back under your car and right above the catalytic converter and slightly behind it, you'll see the rear shifter bushing mounted all the way above. Take your ratchet and your 14mm socket and start removing these two bolts. Once you remove these two bolts, you can remove the stock shifter bushing right out of it. Now take your new Cobb shifter bushing shown on the left and install it back into the shifter linkage. Remember to orient the rear shifter bushing with a flat portion facing down. Now take the two 14mm bolts supplied by Cobb and place them in the original mounting points and tighten them down to 13 feet-pound of torque. Now back to the front shifter bushing. The Cobb shifter bushing comes in two pieces. Start off by installing the first one from the inside and then the second one from the outside. Once both shifter bushings are completely in, take the big washer and place it on, and then take your 12mm bolt and tighten it down to 10 to 15 pounds-feet of torque. Once you've completed that step, you're almost done. Take your heat shield and reinstall it, and reinstall your O2 sensor. And then resecure the heat shield with your 4 12mm bolts. And now lower your car and go for a drive. And that's how you install the Cobb Tuning front and rear shifter bushing. If you guys have any questions, please let me know. And as usual, thanks guys for watching. Make sure you guys subscribe for more how-to videos and vlogs. Thanks guys, and I'll talk to you guys later.